Hurricane Dorian is strengthening a little bit as it moves closer to the Carolinas. I'm Mike Naso with an evening update on our prolific Hurricane Dorian. Here's the latest as of 5 p.m. Eastern Time from the National Hurricane Center down in Miami, Florida. The center of Dorian was at 30.6 north, 79.8 west. Winds were up now to 110 miles an hour, still a Category 2, but they had been 105. And the pressure has been hovering around 960 millibars or so. So there is a sign that this hurricane is taking advantage of the warm Gulf Stream waters and maybe getting a little bit better organized. It's moving north-northwest at 8 miles an hour, and again, it's going to make a very, very close approach to the Carolinas over the next, say, 24 to 36 hours. And we do have hurricane warnings in effect north of Savannah River to the North Carolina-Virginia border, including Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, to say nothing of a tropical storm watch that's in effect north of Chincoteague, Virginia to Fenwick Island, Delaware, and Chesapeake Bay from Smith Point to Drum Point. So again, we're expecting those tropical storm conditions to potentially get towards Friday up towards the Chesapeake. So again, this is going to be a coastal event mainly, but if you're just a little bit inland, you want to heed the advice of local officials and keep a close eye. Whether or not the center actually makes landfall in the Carolinas, again, is uncertain. We still have the computer forecast models here showing that right-hand hook, but it is going to come really, really close to South Carolina and North Carolina over the next 24 hours. And now that the eye is bigger and the wind field's larger, it's going to have more of an impact along those coastal communities. Not just with the wind, but also with the onshore flow. Storm surges and high water rises are likely, and you got a lot of bays and estuaries in the Carolinas, and that could see some serious flooding potential. Here's the latest visible satellite imagery of Hurricane Dorian. Obviously a little bit better defined eye here on the visible, and it is headed right now north-northwest, and that turn's going to occur, but it's going to be really, really close. Of course, there's northern Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and so there's the eye of our mighty Hurricane Dorian. And again, all this onshore flow will cause heavy weather. You can see that even better on the radar. The rain shield of Dorian on the Charleston radar is just beginning to impinge here along coastal communities. So Charleston, you're going to get hit first with some heavy rain as the hurricane approaches, but it will eventually spread inland. And Georgia as well, you guys got some thunderstorms. Remember, there's always the potential for tornadoes during hurricane events, so you'll want to watch for severe weather as the hurricane moves again slowly to the north-northwest. Look at that radar image. You can see the eye was kind of open, kind of ragged. Notice at the end here, it is starting to tighten up and become much more circular. So it does appear that Hurricane Dorian is intensifying. It's not going to become a Category 5 again like it did in the Bahamas. I mean, that was just a whole different setup. But it could achieve major hurricane strength, which would be a Category 3 again. You can't rule that out. And you don't want a major hurricane when the coastline of the United States is right there. Of course, you could see the way the North Carolina pokes down there. The eye expected to parallel the coast and perhaps make a landfall. As I just mentioned, rainfall, heavy rain, that's going to be a big threat with Dorian. You can see anywhere from 10 to 15 inches along coastal areas of South Carolina into North Carolina, as well as near the Outer Banks. You guys could get 6 to 15 inches depending on where you're at. And again, some of this rain could end up spreading a little more inland, especially if the hurricane makes landfall or takes a track closer to the coast. If Dorian does come ashore, let's say near Cape Fear, North Carolina, you're going to have rainfall amounts further to the west than this map would show. But right now you're going to have the threat of heavy rain right along coastal communities and high water rises, dangerous rip currents, dangerous surf. Definitely want to avoid the beach. You can see there's Dorian. Things are kind of on the move. It's finally beautiful outflow, by the way. Beautiful outflow. Look at that shield. That cloud shield extending all the way towards Long Island and New Jersey. And you can see the trophiness here, which is going to give it a kick out. And we really got lucky in Florida. If Dorian had not been steered by the eroding ridge, had the ridge been built in the way we originally thought, Dorian would have definitely made landfall in Florida as a Category 4 and 5 hurricane. So you want to be thanking whoever that Dorian missed you. But again, what we saw happen to the Bahamas and the impacts here to the Carolinas. Dorian has been a very, very devastating hurricane. On the left side of your screen here, we have Fernand. Fernand came ashore as a 45-mile-an-hour tropical storm in northern Mexico. Still some good rainfall right off the coast here near Brownsville and Corpus, as well as over in mainland Mexico. So we're going to watch that, but it looks like Fernand is gone and Dorian is still moving in. Before I leave you, I did want to note that we have Tropical Storm Gabrielle here in the Atlantic, and Gabrielle is near 21.0 north, 34.0 west, winds are 50, and it's moving northwest at 9. Now, Gabrielle is expected now to become a hurricane by Monday, but it's going to be way out here. I mean, way to the east of Bermuda and to the west of the Azores, so we won't see a land impact, it doesn't look like, but Gabrielle will be another hurricane, and she should turn out. And the much bigger concern is what awaits over Africa. As I mentioned yesterday, even though we have Gabrielle turning out, this tropical wave has a moderate to high chance of development, and we've seen the models back off a little bit, but some were making it a hurricane approaching the Lesser Antilles, and there's more tropical waves following behind it over Africa. So again, the wave train is in full swing as hurricane season 2019 continues. And again, right now you can see a strong hurricane off the southeast coast moving north-northwest. Residents of the Carolinas, be on alert. Dorian is not finished yet.